Hey, this is Yogi from RPWL, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Hi.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Bruce.
Hi, Bruce. I'm Yogi.
All right. Thanks for taking the time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for taking your time.
You're over in Germany, right?
Yeah, right. Just close to the here. It's just close to the Munich airport.
Oh, okay.
So
I've never been over there, but I kind of have the general geographical area.
yeah.
So we can just jump right into RPWL. And my first question off the bat is beautiful music, great music. I absolutely love. I've been listening to Victim of Desire. How is it that you create such beautiful music with such dark themes? I mean, I'm watching that video and the music is great. You can listen to it everywhere. And then there's a dude like on top of some girl with an axe.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the last album was the last studio album, Tales from Outer Space, was of course more colorful and this time, yeah, I think it's Kalle came around with kind of darker ideas. I don't know if it's really darker, but a guy asked me if this maybe happened to the according to darker times, if you want so, because here in Europe we have just. I mean, it's something completely new for us that we have a war just in front of our doors, and of course with all the climate things going on and maybe and with having 2 years of pandemic chaotic situation, even for as an artist, of course, but yeah, could be that the ideas were getting darker, but what happened was the first 2 or 3 ideas that Kalle had for here's new music for a new album.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this crime scene thing. I had it in mind for a couple of years to do that, but yeah, it seemed to fit perfectly, like those more colorful ideas with the Tales from Outer Space. And now those ideas with a crime scene, and so this were when the whole thing was starting off, and yeah, there are a couple of if you it's not that Victim of Desire. I think it's more like the second song. It's because the crime thing in the second song with having the song is called Red Rose, and it's about Karl Tanzler, this strange radiologist in the I think in the 30s in the US. It was so cool to have this more sweet melodies to this, because you can say it's a love song, because is for those who don't know the case, it's he fell in love with a young girl that was dying of from cancer, and he couldn't get over that because he thought that this was the love of his life.
Right.
And he took care that she got a good grave because they were poor, and but he was, I mean, he had a telephone at the grave because he wasn't quite sure. Maybe she wakes up.
Oh wow!
And he, yeah, and after a year, he stole the corpse, and brought to his home,
So we get dark
and
again.
yeah, and lived there for 6 years. But still, you can say it's a love story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite bizarre, and it was really while we were doing the song and adding those melodies and yeah, this is. I mean, it's interesting to have these sweet melodies and just to look at the sweetness of the thing, because I mean, yeah, at least it's bizarre, of course.
That was the
at the
yeah,
end.
that was my original thought. Like, I'm listening to it and I'm watching the video and going, wow, it's so melodic and so great. And then you have this like weird dichotomy where you actually like listen to what the lyrics are and watch the video, and it's so completely different.
Yeah, maybe.
So are you a true crime or history buff, and how did you get down that, select that as a topic?
Yeah, I mean, it really started off with Kalle's idea. The guitar player Kalle Wallner came around with those darker ideas, with that crime scene concept I had in mind, and then I was just digging into the whole thing, and I wasn't aware at that time that true crime was such a big deal here.
Yeah, everywhere.
It's
podcasts and everything.
really
Massive.
okay. Yeah, it was. So it was interesting to see that. I was more at the beginning. I was more interested in this concept of good and bad. You know, can we really say if let a crime thing happened? Is he bad, or was it just was he going on the street that was just leading there? And I was more interested in the history of such a thing, and what is good and what is bad. So the stories we have also have this kind of, there's always this click in something like Karl Tanzler that we talked about. When did this love turn into this mania thing?
Right.
And yeah, and so I was true crime was a big thing, and so I thought, hey, let's mix the whole thing. Let's do this deeper thought into what makes a serial killer really a serial killer. Is he bad, or is he just out of his way? What is it a social thing? It is it's whatever, this whole thing. But the other 50%, let's take this crime scene historic things, because it was so interesting to get into this, like Karl Tanzler is from 33, I think. We did another song about a case that was in 22. This was this time when the whole criminal thing started off, that you really had the things in hand to search for them, because I mean, in the 30s they still thought that you can see that someone is bad in the form of his head, or in the shape of his body. Yeah, there were just, it was kind of a science. I mean, in the third song, in the chorus, I mean, it's a case that was just taking place, I think, 50 kilometers from here. We were there. It was a murder of a whole family here. That was in 22, and
recently.
Yeah, and in 1922.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, it's
that's
nearly 100 years.
Right.
But what they did, in the chorus, it says 6 corpses without heads, that is left there in the grave, because they cut their head and send it to a guy that is foreseeing things.
Oh.
Just to have help in I'm on. This was the criminal thing. The whole that was the research they did just 100 years ago.
Have you ever done research like that for a record before, or for a song?
Yeah, I always did. Yeah,
You've always done that?
it's such a fun to dig into things. And
Yeah.
if this is something that the listeners maybe it's a little push just to see. Oh, I already listened to true crime, but what is the historic thing about that?
Right.
What is this is the interesting thing. I always, there were a couple of things that were really interesting, and that during this whole research, I uncovered a lot of things. So it was great. Yeah.
So as I'm listening to it and watching the video, I can't help but think this lends itself to a sort of thematic live show. Is that something you guys are ever thought about?
Oh, I think it's still. I mean, we're still doing music. It's just it was a lot of fun doing that, and I love to do video stuff. We
Right.
also did it with the last record, and this is kind of fun. But I think we're doing music. This is what we are good in. We shouldn't do a screenplay on stage or something.
Right. No, okay, that's fair enough. I was just thinking it'd be like really a good setup for for a live show.
Yeah.
Something different.
Then we should play in a theater.
Yes. There you go. Are you guys planning on taking this out on the road?
Yes, of course. We're doing this. We're going on a live tour at the end of March. That takes us through Europe for a month or something.
Okay.
And of course we're doing the whole album and playing a couple of more songs. So I mean, it's so nice to be in the studio, and I love that. But you have to bring it to stage, because otherwise it would be half of the story.
Right. And especially now, because everybody's been locked away for so long, people are dying to see shows, right? So I imagine the energy and the exchange is probably incredible.
Yeah, I hope so. At least I hope so.
Have you played live since the pandemic?
We were. The last thing we did was we tried to do was that we had the 20th anniversary of our first album, and just when we wanted to go on the road, there was a pandemic lockdown.
Right.
And we were. I remember we were the last in the city here. We just rented a hall to. The thought was, okay, we can't go on tour, so let's make a movie. What we just to. Let's say to honor our first record. And we did that, and we were the last ones who could go into anything, because right after we filmed the whole thing, it was closed, and everything was closed. So we were lucky anyway, because during the lockdown we could edit the movie, and so we had a kind of a live document as a surrogate for not being on tour.
You just mentioned something. You ever imagine you'd still be doing this for 20 years later, or now 23 years later, or whatever it is?
I mean, I don't. There are a lot of good. I mean, there are a lot of things that you could do and that you can be happy with, but doing music is kind of. I didn't really realize in the young days that you're getting old.
Right.
And I didn't. I mean, when we just started off, I mean, I know Kalle for such a long time, even in the 80s, when we went to school, and you never think about, okay, I love to do music, but what happens if I get married?
Right.
Or what happens if I get? I mean, everything worked out fine.
That's great.
And so again we're here. So it's such a cool thing, even with the band, because it's. I talked to Kalle recently about that we're doing. I don't know, is it the 10th record or in the studio, and it's just what really changed is that I can remember that with the in the first couple of years when we did recordings and all this stuff, you always had the fear, what will it be at the end, in the end,
Right.
what is the music about in the end, because you always go, we always did it that way. We just went into the studio and we just started off without having anything in mind. So it has to go somewhere.
Right.
And this is something between us, between the music and between the lyrics. That is, I mean, maybe this is the reason why I'm so into this. Why I take it really serious with the lyrics. I love to dig into that and to do a lot of research, because I always try to create our own world that is spinning in itself. So,
Right.
and we together, we have to do that. And even with the last album, it was even more than the album before that. The thing that really changed is this trust that you have that, and in the end, there will be a record, and there's RPWL on it.
Right.
And this is a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
It's really great.
And concept albums, I mean, at least as far as I'm concerned, don't always work, and they must be really difficult to try and put together, right? Because I can think of some that are unbelievable, but a lot of them don't work. You know, I mean, like Operation Mindcrime works. It's a concept record, and it's great. This one works too. How difficult is it from putting a regular record together, just like a collection of songs?
I mean, this is the concept album thing with a record like Crime Scene is that you have a topic, and you're just working under this. You try to get a complete story out of it, but not in a continuous way.
But you have to create the ebbs and flows as well, right? And the emotion.
I mean, this is always part of the production, and even in nowadays when vinyl is coming back, this is where I started off producing.
Me too.
You have always two waves.
Yes.
Side one and side two.
Yes.
And this is brilliant for me because I'm going back to the roots. And so it even was more complicated when we did a record that was called Beyond Man and Time with a continuous story. I found that really complicated. So this was it sounds strange if I say it was even more work, but it's when you have a concept album with a real story going on, it's just that you work for the story and try to push, but there is also this moment when the story pushes you somewhere, and it's always you always don't know where you're going to. And this was a kind of, I think, if you have a concept album with a continuous story, the work is different, and it's even in another way. I found it more complicated and more difficult to keep this, as you say, this story really going, that it really works.
Right.
Yeah. With Tales from Outer Space or with Crime Scene, this is easier. I don't know if it's easier, but it's more. You don't have to really have such a focus on the on the story.
Right.
You can
So,
divide it into different stories.
so even though it's historical, it seems sort of like you're writing a short story as well, right?
Yeah, you mean in crime scene?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's historical based, but you still had to sort of
Yeah.
write like a fictional story that's believable.
I tried, yeah, but I tried to follow really with the historical cases. I tried to follow really the facts, and with the other things. I mean, there is a victim of desire where we just wanted to, yeah, to push the listener into this
Right.
record. Just I mean, serial killer and trying to get in the head of someone that is really yeah, losing reality, or however you will call that.
Or capable of all those atrocities.
Yeah, yeah. This is I found this is a story. This is really cool to get into the story. I mean, it's heavy
Right.
in the beginning, but you're floating Dennis, king of the world, with the thought where just we were going more into this good and bad thing, just with the thought, what happens if you have the power, if you were king of the world?
Right.
Is it even better? Or is the problem, is it the problem that we are just human as we are, and you can't get really into this? I love this thought. So these are the two songs that are really trying to get another aspect of the crime scene story. And there's one more story that really was heavy for me, because doing all this research, there was one thing that I was thinking that it's getting better, but it's getting worse, and it's that violence in the family and violence behind closed doors.
Yeah.
This crime that you never see is even increasing. It's not decreasing, it's increasing. And it's here in Europe, it's I think it will be kind of the same in the US, I think. But in Europe, in every country, every third day, a woman is killed by someone in the house, and of course by her partner. And this is, wow, this really, I thought I should really, we have to do a song about that, just to get it into the, it's not something that is far away in philosophical way, that is far away in a historic way.
Right.
It's in the middle of society. So
I'm going to that point there, I'm just going to share something real quick. In my real world job, I'm a police dispatcher, and I see that stuff that you're talking about every damn day.
Oh God.
It's super prevalent, and you're 100% right. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. And another thing that I found really bizarre, because I mean, maybe if you say it sounds really clear, but I never had this in mind, that 80% of all crimes are committed by male persons, by men. And the worse the crime gets, the more this is a male problem.
Yeah.
So maybe it's in all these discussions, maybe it's not the social issue, it's not the cultural issue or the immigrant issue or the religious issue. It's maybe just a male problem.
Wow.
It's strange, isn't it?
Right.
But I mean, I don't want this whole album doesn't give an answer. This whole album is a big question mark.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to just go with this for a second. If that's what you're proposing, does that mean that it's like a gamble that any one of us males doesn't turn out that way? Because really, if 80% is true, then
it's hard.
Any one of us could be.
And let me say, I'm really lucky that I'm the guy I am, because I don't think I mean, I should have studied criminal psychology or something. It's really interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, these are the thoughts that you have, and also the thoughts that you have if you're doing really digging into this into these things, that you're not 100% safe from everything, because it's, you know, maybe there is this click that we were talking about. I mean, I'm happy. All my kids living and they are healthy.
Right.
My wife is there. There are maybe there are this maybe there are these moments that you change.
Right.
That this is but this is absolutely the thing, that you shouldn't just say this is a bad person.
Right.
Try to find out why.
The circumstances, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can change things.
Right.
You can't change things if you just say away with it.
And maybe I'm going to end it here, but maybe, just maybe, and I don't know where you are, I'm not trying to put any words into your mouth, but maybe we're just blessed that we're not that 80.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's weird, but maybe that's a thing too. Somehow we didn't draw the short straw or something. I don't know.
There are a lot of question marks that are really worth asking.
Yeah.
And this is what it's about. I don't want to say that I'm just I'm the good person and others are the bad person.
No, I'm not better than anybody either. No, I get that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Circumstances, upbringing, geographical location, medical conditions. I mean, there's a bunch of shit that can fall into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, maybe we're the 20% that are just supremely blessed, however you see that. Right? I mean, you know, whatever higher power, maybe we're just some sort of supremely blessed.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I hope that wasn't too bad. I know I was all over the place, but I just like to talk.
Yeah, I mean, these are thoughts, you know. As I said, the whole album doesn't give an answer to anything. It's just
I don't know
like
that there is an answer, right?
Like these cases, it's a big question mark. Even you don't know why. Or like this third song in Hinterkaifeck that is just here around the corner with a whole family dying in that was killed in 22. It was never solved. Never. Up to now. You just don't know what happened.
Right.
So it's,
and you could be living next door to the person.
another thought that I have that was really scary, because I'm not aware. I was not aware that I go home every day and I close the door, and this closing the door is kind of a safe feeling.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if someone like this family, that was sure it was in the night, they were just safe at home, and something happened, we don't know what.
Right.
But this must be a real shock if you don't have this trust that your home is safe.
Right.
Wow.
And that was the best conversation. I've done 5 of these today. That was the best conversation I've had today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that conversation. That was great.
Thank you. I really appreciate it too.
I know I wandered a bit, but I like doing that, just seeing where it goes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it shouldn't be, in Germany you say it doesn't have to be this finger pointing at someone.
Right.
It's just, I mean, everyone has another point of view. So it's,
yep, absolutely.
and that's good.
I agree. Good. Take care, my friend.
Okay.
Good luck with the record and the tour.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.